At 40, an age when most footballers are long retired, a Saudi club was still paying one man nearly $250 million a year. Then it handed him a piece of the club itself, 15% of the whole club. Why would anyone buy a 40-year-old like that? The world called it ego. The world was wrong. The real answer is a business decision he made 12 years earlier. And the proof starts with a needle. Cristiano Ronaldo was almost never born. His mother has written it herself. The family was drowning. His father had come back from war a different man, and he was drinking hard. When she found out she was pregnant, she went to the doctors and asked them to end it. They refused. So the unwanted fourth child was born on Madeira, a small Portuguese island, into a house with almost nothing. At 12, he was put on a plane alone to the Sporting Lisbon Academy, crying himself to sleep among strangers. He has told the story himself of knocking on a McDonald's door at night with the other academy boys, asking for the leftover burgers. And that is what makes the rest of this story so strange, because the boy who begged for burgers would grow into the man who weighed every meal. While the other boys rested, he worked. The coaches saw a kid who treated his body like a machine. For years, the story sold about him was simple: arrogant, vain, in love with himself. His great rival Lionel Messi was quiet and modest, and the contrast wrote itself. But here is the needle. The man they called vain refused to put a single tattoo on his skin, because fresh ink bars you from giving blood, and he gave blood twice a year. No alcohol, no smoking, a body kept clean enough to donate to strangers. That is not vanity. That is discipline, running deeper than the cameras could see. And the discipline was never only physical. In the Euro 2016 final against France, a tackle wrecked his knee before the game was 10 minutes old. He sat broken on the grass in tears, and a moth landed on his face in front of the watching world. His tournament was over. His team was not. He refused to disappear. In the closing minutes, he was on the touchline shouting instructions like a second manager, and Portugal won the first major title in its history. The asset was never just the legs. It was the mind driving them. Now watch the prices, because they run backwards. Footballers are supposed to get cheaper as they age. Manchester United bought him as the most expensive teenager English football had ever seen, and got 3 Premier League titles. Then came Madrid. Real Madrid paid a world record 94 million euros and got back 4 Champions League trophies and more goals than any player who has ever lived. Then at 33, an age when strikers get discounted, Juventus bet 100 million on him, older and somehow more expensive, because what the buyers were pricing was never just the legs. It was the machine that maintained them. At 40, his club's medical staff swore his body still read like a man in his 20s, with the body fat of a professional swimmer. Which raises the question a footballer is never supposed to ask out loud: what happens when the legs stop? The year he turned 28, that question stopped being philosophy. His own club had just paid a reported 100 million euros for a younger star, more than it had ever paid for him. The clock had become audible, and here is what nobody was saying out loud back then. Forbes was already counting more than $20 million a year flowing to him in endorsements alone. Money paid not for what he did on the pitch, but for who was watching him do it. He was becoming the most followed person on earth, and arguably the most famous human alive. Fame, he realized, was the one asset no club could sell back and no contract could cap. So he stopped waiting for the legs to decide. His answer was a brand with the coldest possible name, his initials and his shirt number, CR7. It started with underwear, boxes stamped with 2 letters and a digit, then a fragrance, footwear, hotels with his name over the door, gyms, a wellness app, watches. Each one earned whether or not he ever kicked another ball. Then Nike called. 3 years later, they handed him a lifetime deal, reported near $1 billion, not for his goals, for his reach. The football had become the advertisement. The product was the man. Then the story turned ugly, and the world missed what the ugliness was proving. At 36, he went home to Manchester United, and the announcement alone broke Instagram records. His shirt smashing sales records before he had kicked a single ball. The brand was now bigger than any club, so big that when a new manager benched him, he sat for a television interview and torched his own employer, saying he felt betrayed. United tore up his contract on the spot. Stop and picture that. The most famous athlete alive, unemployed at 37. And that is exactly when Al Nassr called, with a reported $200 million a season. They called it a retirement league. Critics said he had buried his legacy for a paycheck. And here is the twist nobody caught. Inside Al Nassr, they knew exactly what they had bought. A walking broadcast to the planet, the most followed human alive. 2 years in, they did what no club does for a mere player. They pushed his pay to nearly $250 million a year. Then they went further. They handed him 15% of the club itself, and he paid it back on the pitch. The retirement league line aged badly. At 41, he dragged Al Nassr to the league title, its first in 7 years, scoring twice in the match that sealed it. They had not hired an athlete. They had taken on a partner. Then the accountants made it official. Bloomberg counted his fortune at $1.4 billion, the first billionaire in the history of the sport, with career earnings estimated past $2 billion. Football had seen kings before him. Pelé had to keep working into his 80s to stay afloat. Maradona passed away owing millions in taxes. Even Beckham, the first footballer to become a brand, built $500 million, not one. More than 660 million people followed him on a single app. The unwanted child from the island now reached more people than most nations hold citizens. Talent got him onto the pitch, but he got paid for the two things no contract could cap: a body that never broke and a name he owned outright. Everyone else rented their talent out by the season. He stopped renting. 40 years old, $250 million a year, 15% of a club, and still twice a year, a needle in the arm, giving away for free the one thing everyone else had to pay for. The world keeps calling it ego. Now you know what it actually was. New stories on the moves that built empires every week. Go ahead and subscribe, and I will see you at the next one.